Hello, welcome everyone. This is a Proactive Magazine interview with Gretchen Rubin, an author of a very popular blog, Happiness Project, and a very popular book, Happiness Project. And she was also the contributor to our first issue of the magazine. And Gretchen, say hi and introduce yourself to people.
Hello, I am indeed the author of the Happiness Project, which is both a book and a blog all about how to be happier as just part of your ordinary day.
You finished law school in Yale, so quite a big deal. And then you became a lawyer, then you decided not to. What happened?
Well, I had a great time as a lawyer. I actually was clerking for Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, which is surely one of the best jobs that you can have as a lawyer. But while I was doing that, I finally realized something that probably had been in the back of my mind for a long time, which is that I really wanted to be a writer. And it was at that point that I really came to the point of feeling like I'd rather fail as a writer than succeed as a lawyer, and I really needed to give it a shot and try to make a go of it or fail. And so that was about 12 years ago now that I made the switch. And my husband and I were moving from Washington, D.C. to New York. And so as part of that transition, he stopped being a lawyer and I stopped being a lawyer.
So you made the switch to a career that you actually wanted to do, and you have a husband that you love and you have great kids. And so you were basically happy. So what happened with the Happiness Project?
Well, I was pretty happy when I started the Happiness Project. So I wasn't coming from a place of depression or catastrophe. I had all the elements of a happy life. But I realized I was stuck on a city bus in the pouring rain, and I realized that, what did I want from life? I wanted to be happy. But I didn't spend any time thinking about whether I was happy or how I could be happier. And so I thought I should have a happiness project. And one of the things I really wanted to do as my happiness project was really to appreciate my life more, to stop taking it for granted, and to being distracted by the little things that were going wrong and losing sight of really how much I had. I wanted to live up to it better and expect more of myself and to appreciate what I had better. And so I was pretty happy when I started, but one of the things I wanted to do was not take that for granted as much as I had been.
So many things are going great in my life that I just take it for granted. I just think, it's just like this. And then I start being annoyed about small things that actually don't even matter, right?
Yes. Right. Well, then there's something called the negativity bias, which is that just people have a psychological bias to pay more attention to things that are negative, that are going wrong, that are bad news, that are scary, that are annoying. And so you really have to make an effort to train your sight towards the things that are good, because if you're just sort of left to your own devices, you're naturally going to drift downward. And it is easy. It's easy to just let one little thing go wrong and it just fills up your mind. I mean, you forget about all the millions of things that you should be happy about.
What were the smallest things that you can do or someone can implement right now to just feel a little bit happier?
Well, this is surprising, and I'm not saying this is the most important thing that you could do to be happier, but it is, for some reason, the thing that people most often mention to me when they say, oh, I'm doing a happiness project. I say, oh, well, what are you doing? The number one thing that they mention, that they say that they've tried, that has made them happier, is the resolution to make your bed. It's such a little thing, I know. But this seems to be something that people really get a boost from. And it's very small, it's very manageable, it's first thing in the morning, so that's one thing. Another thing you can do is just up and down a few times. Like, that takes no time. And there's just something so goofy and silly and energetic about doing a few jumping jacks or running down the stairs or just jumping up and down by your desk. It really gives you that kind of that burst of childlike energy. It's really fun. So those are two things that are small but effective.
In my case, for example, it's to have a clean desk when I start working. I just feel better when I have the clean desk. It's just so much, I don't know, the Zen feeling is just kind of, happier for me.
One of the things that I noticed, one of my secrets of adulthood, is that for most people, outer order contributes to inner calm. more than you would think. And it seems like, well, what's really the difference between the clean desk or the messy desk? Like, in the end, it's pretty much the same. And yet, over and over, people say having the clean desk, having the closed closet that's not full of clothes, having your kitchen cabinet doors close easily. These things matter sort of almost more than they should. They don't seem that significant, really, for a happy life. And yet, over and over, people say it really does make a difference. So I do spend a lot more time just managing the exterior of my environment, because I find that it really does, like you, I'm like exactly the same way. It really does make me feel more calm, more focused, more patient. It's worth the effort.
I remember in your book that you mentioned that you liked to clean things. I mean, to clean up, the desks and drawers so much that you started going to people's houses and just clean up
Yeah.
their stuff like without actually asking them. So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's actually more fun to clean up other people's clutter because it's just easier. When it's your own clutter, you have all these ideas about it, but when it's somebody else's clutter, you're just like, get rid of that. That should be recycled.
yeah,
You don't prefer that. Get rid of it, and it's much easier. So it's all the fun with none of the emotional drain that comes from your own stuff.
yeah.
So yeah.
So tell me, is there any trick to actually stick to the New Year's resolutions when you make them?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is it's fun to make a New Year's resolution, but something like 80% of New Year's resolutions have been abandoned by mid-February. So people aren't very good at sticking to resolutions. So for me, I think what I found is that there's two really key things. One is to be very, very concrete and specific with a resolution. So for example, a resolution people say to me all the time, a couple resolutions are like, I want to have more fun with my family, or I want to appreciate the moment more. Well, those are good aims, and they would make you happier, but they're vague because it's Monday,
Yeah.
and you're going to go out for your day. What are you going to do to appreciate the moment more? What are you going to do to have more fun with your family? I think it's much more effective when you're very specific, like, we are going to watch a family movie every Sunday night together, or I am going to take 10 minutes to sit in my back garden and enjoy playing with my dog every day. Be very specific so you know what you're expecting of yourself and you know whether you've done it or not, which leads to the second thing, which is accountability. It's really important to have some sense of holding yourself to your resolution, because we all have those good intentions, but day after day goes by and you just don't get around to doing it. So I have a chart, and I literally write down every resolution and check off whether I did it or not. And other people do it online. I have a Happiness Project toolbox. Some people form Happiness Project groups. Some people just like email back and forth with, a sibling or a friend. There's kinds of. Some people start their own blogs. There's all kinds of things you can do, and you just have to find the thing that works for you. But it's really important to have that sense of accountability, because without that, it's just easy to not follow through, because change is challenging for most people. Even for something that you think is fun. That's the thing that surprises me. Even for something that I like to do, like reading, I love to read. And I would think, oh, well, I love to read, so of course I don't need to have a resolution to read more. But actually I do, and it's kind of hard for me to stick to that resolution. So just because something is enjoyable doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to find it easy to stick to. So that's where I think accountability measures can really help.
So I think 12 resolutions for 12 months maybe could do a trick as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is to know yourself and what works for you.
Yeah.
Some people don't like to say no to themselves. They don't like to say, I can't do something. So they need to frame it in the positive. But I actually like saying no to myself, like, don't do this, don't do that. But again, it's just a matter of knowing yourself and the kind of thing that tends to engage you and keep you persistent with something.
Yeah, about knowing myself. I mean, for example, in my case, I had a resolution to read more, right? But I never have time for that. I just have so much on my plate always that I never have time to read. And after doing this resolution, I read the whole year. I read 3 books, so like not really helpful. And then I realized there is a different way of reading, so I just chose audiobooks. And the next year, I read 30 books. and it's a totally
Wow.
different thing because then I had audiobooks with me all the time,
Yeah.
and on my iPhone, and then like and then I was surprised um, how many times I had the opportunity to read actually when I was walking, driving, or commuting.
See, that's a great way to think about what could work for you to get you to the same place, but through a different way. So that's a great idea.
What do you think? I mean, if we are more productive, we are happier, or if we are happier, we're more productive.
I think
How does it
I
work?
think it's both ways. I mean, I think both things are true, because I think that when you're happier, you are more energetic and more creative, and it's also easier to get yourself to do things that you don't want to do because sometimes being productive is means tackling chores and jobs that you'd rather not do, and so when you're
Yeah.
happy, you're more able to take those on. But then I think people get a real sense of satisfaction from getting something done. And sometimes, you can engineer a little mood boost for yourself by just saying, you know what, I'm feeling lousy. I'm just going to do something that I've been putting off and just get it done and get it off my mind, get it off my list. And that can give you that sense of good cheer and energy. So I think you can use it both ways and that they feed into each other. Because they are tied together.
In your book, actually, you mentioned that you finally forced yourself to do the things that you were putting off for so much time, and yeah, there are always things that are like that. But on the other hand, we also have to be able to say no to things that we shouldn't be doing anyway.
Well, and I think that's a key thing, which is it's not that you should do everything, but that you should figure out what's important to you. Because, I mean, one thing that I really came to understand from my happiness project was that I could only have a happy life on the foundation of my own interests, my own temperament, my own values. And the more that I brought my ordinary day into line with that, the happier I became. But when your day is full of things that you're not interested in or that you don't really value or that really aren't suited to your temperament, you're not going to feel so happy. So a lot of it is really figuring out, well, what are the kind of things that I should be doing with my time? Not trying to do everything, but to make sure that you're doing the right things for you. And everybody's different. So there's no one size fits all answer. You really have to figure it out for yourself.
That you mentioned in your book is that this 1 minute rule. I mean, in getting things done, it's 2 minute rule. So the rule that
Oh,
if something can be done really quickly, it should be done right away.
oh well,
So
see, I thought I invented that for myself, but that's great. I mean, happy minds think alike. So that is a really, really effective rule is to just, if you can do it fast, don't put it off. And and it's amazing how kind of your life gets much cleaner because all those little tiny tasks that are just sort of the scum on the surface of your day just fall away. So yeah, that's a great one.
do you have any plans for any new book or anything you can tell us about?
Yes, actually, I have a book that will be coming out in August of 2012, and
Hmm.
it's called Happier at Home. Samuel Johnson, who's one of the patron saints of my happiness project, wrote, "The ultimate result of all ambition is to be happy at home." And I was thinking about this, and I realized that really, if I were going to go deeper into the subject of happiness, my first happiness project was very broad, and I wanted to go deeper into it. And it seemed to me that a great focus for it would be home, because home encompasses so many things, and there are so many things we want from our home. It's relationships, it's stuff, it's time, it's neighborhood, it's all these things. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to do a happiness project again because I love doing my first one so much. But this time I'm really going to focus in on home, and make that the lens through which I look at everything. And so fascinating, to think about that and to think about what I would do, what kind of resolutions I would set and what kind of aims I would have if I really wanted to feel more at home at home. So it's really so much fun.
Gretchen, so good luck with that. We'll be happy to also mention and promote your book when it's out in August. So we'll be waiting for that, and I'm definitely going to read it. So anyway, thanks so much for being in our magazine, and thanks for actually making me happier by reading your book.
Oh, excellent. I'm so happy to hear that you enjoyed it. So thanks very